We have to start again.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a quorum.
Yeah.
And need to adopt the agenda, you get a motion to adopt the
I
agenda,
move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
all in favor? Aye.
No second, okay.
Second. Okay, it's been so long, right? Oh, it's up this game. City council liaison comments.
How's it going, everybody?
Good, how are you doing?
We're doing all right. We're doing UGB amendment. You probably heard that's a big thing. And we have a workshop.
Just before you start, since there's somebody on Zoom, would you mind just coming over, sitting there where you do your comments so they can see you?
See that beautiful face?
It's full glasses.
I'll just sit there. It's okay. Hello, public. How are you doing? I just wanted to let you know that's the next big thing. So I know that people in this room were on the UGB steering committee. We did invite Therese Kohler to be available for comments during, and she'll be up with us. Everything good?
Yeah, you're good. That's about as good as it's gonna get.
All right. So just wanted you guys to know that was happening. Concerns were heard and city council said, yeah, we should have Therese on there. That way she can just answer some of the questions about kind of part of the process. And there were people from the public that were asking for that and we agreed. So that's gonna happen Wednesday next week. You're invited to attend. Obviously, it's a workshop, so there's no visitor public comments. But since Therese is on there, she'll represent basically the PC and the UGB steering committee, since it was kind of a both, we went through both of you guys for that process. And I think by the end of that meeting, we'll have a lot better idea about what the next steps city council may or may not take, so. Because we're learning some information, but we're also kind of reviewing the situation as well.
Are you thinking of provisionally including them along with our plan A?
I don't think that can be said. I think that there's a possibility that could happen. Obviously, we kind of left the door open for that. Because we had just enough room in the schedule to wait one more month and see how things go with the county. But I said myself that I'm not willing to run this past November 5th. Because I do not want to jeopardize the end of 2026 that we have to have this completed and have the application in. So, I think that the decision is going to be made. Not next week, but at the November 5th meeting. I think we'll have a full, clear picture about what council thinks as on top of what everybody else has already been a part of. So I think there's a lot of concern about if this gets dragged out any further, then we would have to start the process over in 2027. And
No, let's get it done.
well, I appreciate the input. I think that you're not the only one.
Right.
I think that it would be ridiculous to have to spend another 4 years on it or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's been a long haul, just.
It's a lot of time and money, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think city council is as aware of that as everybody, so. And I think it's just, at some time you have to make a hard decision for the sake of good governance and budgetary thoughts, so. And I think that's probably what we'll do. Now, what that means, I still don't know. We are 5 people that think differently, so. The public roundabout art process is. Makes you very.
I've read about that in almost every nugget in the last.
Yeah.
It's just,
The letters in the
it
editor.
it's not gonna go away because it's kind of just a divisive issue. I don't know, it's not like the most important thing that we're ever gonna do, but at the same time, there's a lot of clear opinions on it, so.
First world problem.
Yeah. But anyway, that's kind of all I have. I'm really, really interested in hearing this presentation though, because I think this is kind of cool where staff get to really inform us of what's going on, and it's like a kind of a update, and let's hear what's actually happening out on the ground. We're always thinking about conceptually and policy and code and all this stuff, and we don't get to hear the fun stuff very often. And to me, this is the fun stuff,
That's some bolts.
nuts and bolts, man. So I'm ready to listen with the rest of you. And I'm done. Any questions? Yeah,
No.
okay. I'm gonna go sit off to the side.
Okay, thanks.
We'll let you set the table with this, it's okay.
Well, he needs to be at the table too, so.
Visitor communication, this is the time provided for individuals wishing to address the planning commission regarding issues not already on the agenda. Public?
People online here, but we have a couple. Zoom. Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to address the planning commission? If so, if you could raise your hand. Seeing none, I think,
Okay.
Maybe they're trying to figure out how to raise their hand. Maybe they raise their hands thinking they're on video.
City of Sisters Infrastructure Primer. This City of Sisters Public Works Department will provide an overview of the city's infrastructure system, including water, sewer, and transportation, and planned future developments.
The chair, I'd just like to just give a little bit of background. This is an outcome of the check-in that we had with you guys back in, I don't know, April or May, where you indicated that this is an area that you wanted to learn more about. So we finally got around to it. So we have Jackson Beamer, who's the manager, Public Works Manager of Operations here to help lead you through the water and sewer portion of infrastructure. And then we have Joe Bestman from Transite Consulting, who is behind you there, who's our contract transportation engineer, who's going to talk about transportation issues. So Jackson's going to start off first. So welcome, Jackson.
Thank you. Hello, commissioners. Just gonna do kind of a Public Works Infrastructure 101. Feel free to stop me at any time if you have any questions and some clarifications.
You just send a voicemail. You might see all my emails pop up during the course of this meeting as well.
Are you worried?
Hopefully nothing incriminating.
Can't guarantee I will know the answer to every question, but I'll keep some notes. I can always get back to folks at a later time. Starting off. Shown there are the three big guiding documents for water, wastewater, and transportation, telling us what we need to do going forward to accommodate for growth. Going to start off with water. Source water is from the Upper Deschutes Basin of the Deschutes Aquifer of the Upper Deschutes Basin. It's very robust, composed of porous volcanic sedimentary rock. High rate of recharge. There at the bottom, getting about 2.5 billion gallons daily of recharge.
Is that from snowmelt mostly, or
Snowmelt
that runs down through the volcanic?
into the, so snow melt, rainfall in the mountains. So city pumps average less than 1 million gallons per day. So summer, we could see 2 million, sometimes 2.5 million gallons a day. Winter, 500,000 gallons. So averaging out to about 1 million gallons a day.
A little bit of what?
A little bit of water. Little bit of a blow up of our water system. About 200,000 feet of piping in the distribution system, upgraded in 93 to C900 PVC, and we are routinely going through bringing some of those older mains up to speed. Typical system pressure between 55 and 80. We have to maintain 20 psi for fire suppression purposes.
What do you have to put something in the water to treat it? Or is it minimal because of the?
So shown here, we have our 4 wells. Well 1 kind of center of the screen is the only well that utilizes gaseous chlorine. The other 3 use hypochlorite, sodium hypochlorite. So that's a rock salt. Uses electrolysis to pull that chlorine atom out of the solution and disinfect the water. We don't have to treat the water. It's so clean. But we do dose it a little bit just for people tapping into that pipe for new construction. It's just there as a safety measure. And we do monitor that daily. We take samples, we make sure we're still getting a good residual.
Well, some of the one over by Brooks Scanlon.
I'm sorry.
It's well one over by Brooks Scanlon, Logan Road, 16 Road in Brooks Scanlon.
That is an old chlorinator building from when the city utilized surface water.
Oh, okay.
I was just gonna say, we have some of the cleanest water in the country, and Paul Patagna would put it up against any water in the country, I would say.
I'm right there with them. But so well one. Kind of a hard location to find, as we like most of our facilities, people don't have to worry about their water. Or anything like that. It's tucked away just as you leave city limits on Three Creeks Road. If you're heading south and beyond the bikes, tucked off in the woods. Little diagram of our system that I found in our water system master plan. Reservoir is south of town, about 2 miles outside of city limits, built in 1995, has a total volume of about 1.6 million gallons. Acts as a sort of pressure relief for the system. So as the wells are pumping water, if the demand in the system isn't meeting exactly what that well is pumping, access is going up through the reservoir. And then when the wells are off, they can gravity feed into the system and maintain a healthy pressure.
It's closed. Reservoir is open.
A closed top. Yes. So nothing can get in. Based on the water master plan, upcoming projects, we will be upgrading the well one, the one site that does utilize gaseous chlorine, bringing that up to sodium hypochlorite on-site generation. It's safer, it's easier to manage. Well three will be getting a backup generator. It's the only well site that does not have a backup generator. Looking at a second reservoir, 2.2 million gallons. Right next to the existing reservoir. That'll give us expanded capacity, some redundancy if we have to do maintenance or cleaning. And then we're also looking at a 16-inch transmission main going down Etchington Road, again, helping for better flow capacity, redundancy if we ever have to do maintenance on the other main lines coming into town. And allow for some better pressure on that west side of the city.
Just out of curiosity, what, do you know what size pumps you guys use for this? Any of the wells?
I'd be happy to look that one up, but I don't have that information off the top of my
Okay.
head.
What's the timeline on these projects?
So currently, well one and well three are in the permitting phase. The reservoir and the transmission main are just got through environmental review. So they just cleared that phase of the project, so now we're looking at scoping and cost estimates. We'll be going into design on the transmission main very soon.
I know well four for sure has a variable pump that can go up and down.
Yes.
Because I dedicated that one back in the day, 3 or 4 years ago. And we have a lot of redundancy already built into the system. Paul was really good about that over the years. And it was about, I'm gonna say it was about 5 years ago, I asked the question, I was like, so on the hottest day, what percentage are we pulling out of the ground of what our 100% max is? And back then it was about 62% on the hottest day. So we have a lot of room in the system to pull more water out if we need to. I don't know what that percentage is, but it's probably not a whole lot higher because our capacity has stayed about the same and our usage is actually pretty steady, even though as the city's growing, because people are just using less water. So.
I believe our max we can pump, if I'm remembering my numbers correctly, is 4,000 cubic feet per second.
A lot of water.
It's a lot of water, and we're not close to it.
Yeah.
Any questions related to water before I move on?
Do you know the average compares to other cities our size?
I don't have that information.
We had a consultant give us an A+ with that when we came before council.
So
It's hard because every time we look at a new project, one of the things that comes up is what's our capacity for water? Are we getting close? Are we gonna run out? If we do this development, is it gonna be straw that breaks the camel's back?
Right, we get too many people living here.
I thought the most interesting thing, I just scanned that document, was that we're not pulling anything out of the river, or the creeks, but we have the right to, but we just don't, because we don't need it.
It would require a extra level of treatment.
Absolutely.
For surface
But
water.
it's nice to have that as a contingency or whatever in the future. For
Definitely.
100 years down the line or whatever.
So I did forget to mention, on this image here, you will see, new well number 5. So we do have a 10-acre parcel right out there, that is the future site of the fifth well, when we get to that point. I do believe it's the last item on the project list in the water master plan. So we have a lot of other projects before. we
Where
get
is
to
that? The new well number 5?
So,
Proposed.
Edgington?
Is my mouse gonna show up?
Yeah.
There it is. Yep, so this is Edgington Road.
Okay.
Right in between the middle school and the new elementary school. If you take that down to, I believe that is a Forest Service road. This would
Right.
eventually continue to that footbridge across White's Creek.
Okay,
Brooks Scanlon. Brooks Scanlon, thinking.
yeah,
It's pretty much rectangular property, about 10 acres like that.
Right behind Patterson
Roughly.
Ranch.
okay.
Jackson, is it fair to say that these big projects that you're doing are about to embark on are kind of to create capacity for future growth?
Absolutely.
That's what the latest master plan was kind of based on, was the population growth. And we're basing on UGB amendment off of this, all the other plans are based off of. When the master plan was done, we knew what the population increase was gonna be, we just didn't know where it was gonna occur. So that's gonna be an element that's gonna have to be updated, before, once we adopt the actual boundary and know where it's going. We'll have to update the master plan to match that.
Yeah, all these master plans look out 20 years.
Is well 5 on the north side off of the Bricks Island Road or the south side?
North side.
North side, okay, good.
Yeah, if you take that turn off down Brooks Scanlon, it should be the first I wouldn't even call it a driveway, an entryway on your left. We did a fuels treatment in there a few years back with some grant funds from the state fire marshal.
Yes.
Yeah, wastewater.
So here we have an overview of our wastewater collection system. If you've perused Google Maps on the southeast side of town, you would see our wastewater treatment plant. I would say 99% of the wastewater in town gravity flows all the way to, I lost my person, to the Rope Street pump station in the northeast corner of town. There are a few areas where we need to have some booster pumps, pump that over a small grade change, but the majority is gravity flow into that Rope Street pump station. From there, it's a pressure main, 12-inch, to our wastewater treatment plant
Under Wetches Creek.
under White's Creek, just off the west side of the Oregon Street Bridge.
Is that a similar principle with the water wells, is that they're built so they're kind of at a higher elevation, so they can go down to look for the need?
So the water's all under pressure, so there's no gravity in that, so we can have a water well at any elevation. You may notice, so over at the Five Pine campus, kind of by their large sign, you'll see a grayish tinged box. Again, we try to keep our facilities out of sight, out of mind for folks. That's an example of a lift station. Just kind of gets it out of a little depression and back into gravity flow.
And that's use a pump for that.
I'm sorry,
Use a pump for that.
there's 2 pumps in each one of those lift stations, and they take turns.
There are backup generators for those as well, or not?
Not for the lift stations. We do have a mobile generator. And we routinely run drills on hooking up that generator, testing it out. In case we ever in an emergency where we need to do so.
Tell me about the irrigation areas, because I always see it sprinkled running.
Yes, so after all the wastewater is forced up to our treatment plant, it goes into 3 detention ponds. Trying to find my cursor again. This is the first.
Go ahead.
First pond here. Lost again. Anyways, the pond in the upper left-hand corner is first pond, then going into the smaller pond, pond 2 to the right. Finally, ending in the larger pond down below, just allows solids to settle out, allow the bacteria and everything to do their thing and eat all the nasty stuff. From there, it goes into a 1,600 foot pipe where it can be dosed with chlorine. The chlorine can do its thing. We start to then pump that out into both our forested areas. And I believe what you're referring to, our K-line irrigation out on the Lazy C Ridge. We do grow orchard grass out there, we harvest it, and then we sell that off at the end of the season.
Are you taking the chlorine back out before you spray or,
The chlorine dissipates.
okay? I don't think that'd be very good for growing grass.
It's not at a high enough concentration where it's gonna kill anything.
Okay,
It treats what
It's
it's
already-
already treat and then
It's done
done.
it's done
Yeah.
its work. yes.
okay.
Sister has its own Brandon Hague.
It's just red hay.
Just future marketing activities there at this point.
Does the sludge ever have to get cleaned out or it goes away by itself?
We routinely dredge the ponds for that sludge, biosolids as we refer to it. And then we, and then
Biosolids.
so we treat that as well, with, I believe, lime. And then that gets distributed onto our irrigation fields, again, fertilizing.
Do non-bio solids get into that?
Those are filtered out with a bar screen before they ever enter the ponds. And it's the mechanical screen, pulls it all out, dumps it into a bag.
I'm glad I don't change that garbage.
It's not fun.
If you've never done a tour, you can do a tour.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
You can they have volunteers to handle the things.
And how's our capacity?
Capacity is good. So that will lead into the next few slides. Most of this I already went through, but again, the lagoons 1 and 2, about 9 feet deep. Lagoon 3 has about 70 million gallons of capacity. That fills up during the winter. DEQ regulates when we can irrigate. And so during the summer, we start irrigating as much as we can. And then the biosolids are routinely removed and applied to the Lazy C properties.
Is there an odor issue when you irrigate it all or not?
No, the
Then it's-
irrigation.
Okay.
If you ever have odor issues, it's usually environmental, a hot day. The treatment ponds are like an organism, like us. They can get a little sick, they can catch cold. The temperature might throw off some pH issues, but they return to normal pretty quickly. Again, wastewater treated with chlorine and irrigated in the forest and on our Lazy C properties. Going into capacity. West Side Pump Station, I'm sure you've seen some of the construction on the south side of town. West Side Pump Station will accommodate about half of the flows going to Grove Street Pump Station. Once West Side Pump Station is up and running, that'll allow us to perform some necessary maintenance on Grove Street Pump Station, upgrading some of the pumps, getting the backup generator moved outside of the building.
Does that create new capacity for Road Street in the future?
Absolutely.
By
It'll take
intersecting- By intersecting all that other flow from the west side.
We did a study on the flow going through the wastewater main, 18-inch main that West Side Pump Station will tap into. About half of the flows are coming from the west side of town. And pretty much everything west of that target there. And that's about half of the flow, so.
What percentage of the UGB on that side of the, you think that Grove Street can handle it? Can it handle all of it? Or is it just gonna be a portion of it as it grows and then we'll have to consider the next move? Any idea or,
I would defer to an engineer on that one.
okay. Fair enough. I'm thinking too far ahead, but. Thank you.
Plus, it matters how you make the UGB. It's like that,
Yeah.
80 acres, but
You just got a grant from DLCD to start to do some of that initial kind of engineering analysis out there, which
Awesome.
will start to answer those questions.
That's cool.
And if you look at a map and you take a look at the area that is being intercepted by West Side Pump Station, and then how much the UGB could be adding over time. It's a far off concern.
Nice.
One issue out there though is the elevation of some of the expansion area out there that's lower than.
Grove Street.
Correct me if I'm wrong, lower than the pump station at Road Street that would have to be pumped itself up to Road Street.
That's what
Yes,
the little lift stations are for.
This is, so that's solvable, but it's a cost, right? Yes.
So does the city contract out all of the water and wastewater engineering? Is that what I'm understanding?
We have a contract civil engineer through Beacon Engineering.
And then I think you guys contracted out with another engineer for the update to the water and wastewater.
Yes,
That was a specializing.
Anderson Perry.
Yeah, Anderson, yeah.
And then some other wastewater projects, like I mentioned, upgrading the Rope Street pump station, once it has that lessened inflow due to West Side Pump Station. And then expansion to the Lazy Z Ranch reuse improvements. So that would be adding irrigation pivots. Right now, we're using K lines. They require being moved daily, manually. So getting pivots out there will reduce staff time, increase the amount of effluent we can dispose of those fields.
I think that just went through city council last month. At least part of it, maybe. Sorry.
Perhaps.
I like trails.
And then, yeah, creating an opportunity for recreation. Trails through constructed wetlands.
And what's the timing on these?
So we are going to start with the smallest of the irrigation pivot, the one that's about a quarter circle. Working on getting RFP put together at the moment. We have some bigger, more immediate projects at the moment, but we are working on that one. Any more wastewater questions?
Fascinating.
And then getting into the next portion of today's presentation, this is a map from our transportation system plan showing our functional classes for our roads. We have, starting at the smallest local or neighborhood routes, leading into collector roads, receiving a little bit more traffic, and ultimately arterials. So that would be the highways through town.
When was this map created?
This was from our 2021 transportation system plan, which was an update to our 2018.
Is that missing in the King new classification on there?
It might be.
Okay.
Because of the schools.
There's another one in my slides that has that on there.
I sure read a lot of comments about the new roundabout.
Yeah. What are you doing so far?
Not good. No,
I
I'm going art.
Well,
I'm right,
You are, but
I'm right, my place is right over there, our shop and everything, I think one thing, well, a couple things, one thing, you're gonna need a really good crosswalk. Going over some kind of flashing lights or something across Barkley to go to the post office.
You're talking about Camp Polk and Barclay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not a roundabout, that's a
No,
closed roundabout,
yeah,
future roundabout.
yeah, the roundabout itself, yeah, down below is,
Roundabouts are great when people drive them.
yeah.
I was coming by Costco the other day and this older person was in the roundabout and they're going around and they stopped.
Oh, no.
Like where Highway 20 was getting ready to feed into it and they stopped. I'm going, come on, you gotta go, because if I go and she decides to go, I'm gonna be at fault. So I was honking her, go, but stop in the middle of the roundabout, people
Yeah.
just need to learn how to drive.
I think the big issue there is just where people merge from 126 and 20 coming in and can back way up.
Oh, got it.
Yeah,
Well,
coming in.
I think you'll see too. I mean, that's the next pinch point. I think that's gonna be the next roundabout is that 126 and Highway 20 junction, what we do there. And that may come with the UGB expansion work, depending on how that goes.
And then the Camp Polk turn, off Barkley, it confuses a lot of people, especially
Yeah.
that's, if you don't know it, if you haven't been in it and trying to come in, it's hard for them to figure out, okay, who has to stop? How do I turn
It's
this?
temporary, right? I mean, isn't that?
It's gonna be a roundabout as well.
Cool, so.
Yeah.
People don't know that. I don't think that's been publicized well enough.
Yeah, how far out in the future is that roundabout?
I don't know, I mean, I think it took, or John, and Paul and I talked about that, it took a lot of capital to get that locust roundabout, that was obviously our most critical need in Sisters, is getting
yes.
that one.
Yep.
We started in 18 on that, so,
Well,
You know,
it was in plans way before that. It's a-
well,
it's a
yes,
traffic
of course,
signal.
long-term plans,
I
yes.
was working on projects in Sisters back in like '04.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, well, locust fails, locust fails.
I think the next roundabout in town will be Camp Polk and Park Lake. And I think that
you're right.
that'll coincide with a lot of UGB construction that happens out there.
Okay, yeah,
It's probably 5 to 10 years out.
yeah, if you're in.
I would
go
say
to transportational.
Yeah.
Start jumping.
Thanks,
those slides.
Jackson. That was really good.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That was really good. I probably would change my slides had I seen that. Let's see if I can do that.
Why? Cause he did it in like 7 slides.
No, just what I talked about. So again, Joe Beston, Transite Consulting. So I'm a consultant engineer working with the City of Sisters, and it's a real pleasure to be able to do that. I picked this photo on my cover because every time I come to Sisters and hear about a project, this is how people of Sisters see their traffic. This is not how Sisters traffic is.
No,
No, I had a friend from Portland say, God, I love going over to Sisters, but the traffic, so traffic. I go, yeah, all 4 blocks. And you live in Portland, how long did it take you to drive to work this morning? You know, I mean,
right, and it's only a certain time of the year, in the winter.
That's right.
Even those 4 blocks are like,
Not bad.
yeah, breeze.
yeah.
Being a pedestrian and crossing in the summer is.
Well, that's a
is
different
sketchy.
thing.
Yeah, so when you think about the transportation system planning that your staff is working on, what we're looking at is population and employment. How many jobs, how many people, where are they going to and from? So it's really a function of, our zones. And there's been a lot of efforts to try and put these compatible zones and mix places up so that everyone doesn't have to go to Raves for groceries. Everyone doesn't have to go to, a single location for education, which is what we have now. So the transportation system plan was really written back in 2007, 2008. At that time, growth was looking like this, it was gonna just keep going, just gangbusters, 3-4% per year. I think the projection was by 2030, you'd have close to 4,700 people in Sisters. In 2018, there was a more limited update to the transportation system plan. That was recognizing that we don't want signals at Barclay and Locust. We wanted roundabouts. That 2018 update was somewhat limited, just around the alternative route and trying to make that a roundabout centric design. Then in 2022, we came back in. We realized that our planning horizon of 2030 was getting too close. We didn't have our 20 years of growth in our plans, but we also realized we were nowhere near this 4,700 persons. In fact, we realized, well, we might reach 4,700 persons. It might be closer to 2040 than 2030. So it wasn't the biggest change in your transportation system plan. It was really saying it's going to happen. It's a matter of a few more years before it does.
But a good portion of the traffic is not residents,
That's a
people
good
coming
point.
through
And
and distributing.
absolutely.
Well, Lamp Valley, coming over to play.
Yeah, and you'll see that. And what we see in the transportation system plans in the 2007, 2008 plan and the 2022 updates is all the congestion in Sisters is pretty much happening on highway, right? It's getting across the highway, it's getting on the highway, it's getting through the highway. It's ODOT. So everything we do has to be coordinated closely with ODOT. The county has been, pretty good to work with and hasn't been as much of a challenge on the periphery. So it's really been the city and ODOT trying to solve some of these more complex transportation problems.
Hence the Barclay bypass, right?
Absolutely. Primary goals of the TSP, getting the alternate route done. That's always been our goal. It's okay, if the highway is the problem, how do we make the highway better? Well, there was always the discussion of you could widen it, you could bypass it. And the decision was always the alternate route, where during the summertime, people have another way to get around. But during the winter time and the off-peak season, it's not that bad. We can keep the businesses more viable, keep people downtown. And it's fine, but they can still go around if they want. It's, frankly, quicker now with the 2 roundabouts. So that was always the goal. There was also a lot of focus on safe routes to school, having the elementary school moved and consolidated with the one campus, having all those pedestrian improvements. That was a real big effort of the last 2 or 3 years. And Jackson and Paul have been phenomenal getting all that stuff in place. And it's really looks good.
Have you, do you have any kind of idea, usage of the bypass? Has it made a big
I
difference?
haven't gotten any counts out there since that's been completed. You know, I was hoping to wait for it to kind of stabilize a little bit.
We're getting ready to do some traffic counts on the entrance and exit to the.
That'd be interesting to see, you know, what kind of diversion we're getting. Because there's no signage really, is there?
So the ODOT reader board, as you come into town, Fridays through Sundays does display, a message saying something to the extent of use the alternate route.
Oh, okay. All
I
right.
think there's like one
It's not much.
stationary sign that says, but it
Yeah.
doesn't really describe.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen when you take that down?
Yeah, and so if you look at this slide here, this is really the Parkway corridor, and VCON has kind of put together some line work. This is what remains of that alternate route. The alternate route's in place with our roundabouts, but until we have that full 3-lane section, the roundabout at Locust, can't pull, it's not going to be done. So I think that the signage, you know, there's some improvements that are still remaining, but we're getting closer at least. So just so you know, there is a plan. The plan is to have left turn lanes along Barclay, sidewalks and a place for bicycles and, you know, really improve kind of that 2-lane road that's there.
Still trying to straighten the road
Yeah.
out?
I don't know how much
Straightening,
straightening.
straightening, I think, very.
There's a few
minor.
softening of curves, just to better suit that 30 mile per hour, speed.
Because I know we talked about it a long time ago in the planning commission. And part of it was to straighten that Barkley out and then there became funding issues.
Over by Pine, you mean? Where the
Yeah.
curves are, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of those curves are gonna be softened a little bit, but it's not straightened out.
Right. So again, here's your functional classification map, and this one actually has all the classifications on it. I grabbed the right one. Doesn't have the new elementary school yet, though. But I think, you know, as planning commission members, this is the key map, and really, even though the highway is red, it should really be black, because you don't control it, you don't manage it, you really don't have jurisdiction, but you do have a lot of input. You know, you do have a lot of say in terms of what ODOT does, and ODOT frankly has gotten so much better to work with over the last 20 years, where they really now, I think more than ever, value community input. But I think looking at this system, you know, your red roads are gonna always be your points of congestion. And where the red roads meet, that's gonna be your pinch points. Those are the highest volume, highest traveled areas. 242, not quite as bad, obviously, but 126, 20, Cascade, those are our main routes. And I think it's important that we keep in mind that this alternate route, this Locust to Barclay, while it's a city route, that's being built and designed so it can handle highway loads. And I think it's important because ODOT only has so much money, and it's easy to say, you know, we're not gonna spend our money on city roads, but it's a quasi ODOT facility. You know, we're designing it to take ODOT's trucks and put them on this city facility. So I think there should be more effort from ODOT to help fund the rest of the route, fund the widening, fund the roundabout. Help us take care of the maintenance and whatnot.
So that's something that comes from council?
That's something that we negotiate and work with ODOT when we, you know, submit grants to try and get like the Barclay and Locust roundabout.
Yeah, that's
So,
what I'm thinking.
Absolutely.
Absolutely right.
Because frankly, if ODOT wanted to fix the highway and they wanted to widen Highway 20, think of how much more money they would spend.
Right.
But basically, it's saying this is the more cost-effective way, ODOT, for you to manage your highway system. It's partnering with us in the city to have a good system.
Well, if you could manage to get the big semis, which I still see going right through the middle of town.
Yeah.
If you get them on Barkley and then some of the big RVs and people who aren't gonna be stopping, you know, over on Barkley and off the main road, that would help a lot.
I think that goes back to signage. It goes back to making sure the GPS is showing people that that's the route to take. Because if you're sitting there looking at your Google map and your map just says, hey, straight through, that's all you're going to do.
Right.
Old habits die hard for truck drivers.
Yeah, and I
But
mean,
all drivers, not just truck drivers,
Right.
but all of us, right?
Well, and your point is fair too, you know, Google Maps, Apple Maps, whatever map program. You know, if you don't know the place you're following,
Absolutely.
turn left and 300 feet. Yeah, I mean, you know, you're doing that because you don't know
Right.
the
Right.
alternate routes and stuff.
And if you're driving an RV, you're like, well, how tight is that turn? How sharp is that going to be? Does it have room for my trailer?
Right.
I mean, that's me.
And that's just one of 6 million cars that go through here every year.
Yep.
Do you deal with intersections as well?
Yeah.
Like intersection design?
Do I personally?
Well.
A lot, yes.
I can say.
That one you wanna talk about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Okay,
Don't get them
right,
started.
right here at Cascade and Locust.
Yeah.
That's gonna become part of the alternate route. I cross that road 4 times a day. And with the new roundabout, people kind of come through that roundabout at high speeds.
Yes, they do.
And there's really just that one crosswalk, and so I guess my question is really to, how do we use this to implement better pedestrian safety and bike safety measures
Yeah.
at those intersections for residents? Because everyone on this side of Locust,
Mhm.
that's their only crosswalk. Across, well, I guess the one at the roundabout too, but people aren't really walking up to the roundabout to cross, they're taking the straight shot across Cascade.
Crossing around.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
great,
there's-
great story for you. Also part of the story where there's a fire hydrant red on my water bottle is Paul Jackson, myself, Eric, we actually were standing out there looking at the crossings along that corridor. That's a current plan we're looking at. Right now, if you're at Cascade and you're standing behind that gigantic transmission pole
Yeah.
and you're 10 foot back from the edge of the travel way because the way the road is, widens right there, you're invisible to drivers, you're too far away, you're looking at 2 lanes opposite you coming out of the old elementary school site. So there's a plan. There's a plan to fix that.
Okay,
It involves moving the curbs forward so that the pedestrian crossing is in front of that transmission pole, so you can actually see. There's some signage you want to put in as you come out of the roundabout to reinforce those speeds, have that speed feedback, so people don't think, especially people that are trying to use the alternate route to save time. They don't think, hey, now it's time to really step on the gas and go 35.
Yeah.
But keeping that 20-mile-an-hour speed, reinforcing that, having a marked crossing there. So I think Jackson's,
would be awesome.
anything you want to add?
Yeah, so that was a project that we looked into, once the roundabout was complete, how do we then make this safe for pedestrians, because we hear that. We got a plan together, improving those crosswalks, making the pedestrian more visible. And then, up where Black Butte meets North Locust, because of that increase in speed, we're looking at putting in a rapid flashing beacon for that pedestrian crossing. There's no formal crossing up there, you can see it, you can see, yes.
If ODOT would put in some signage that say pedestrians have the right of way, that would really help because,
City, right? That's not.
Yeah.
or the city, because I've had people. I get off my bike and I'm walking across Cascade and they screech on the brakes and start yelling at me, like, what am I doing?
Get a car.
You know, we have the right of way, and I'm going, no, you don't, I'm sorry, read your manual.
The flashing lights really help. When I drive on Greenwood and Bend.
Yeah.
There's one, I don't know how new it is, but it's like 12. Yeah, and every time you see that for a mile and it's, it knows to stop, and that would be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be good.
I have some
You
good
can't see an
news.
8-year-old.
I have some good news. The first flashing crosswalk is gonna be out there in front of Woodlands going across to Weimar. At that construction, they're building it right now.
Yes.
That will be the first lit
That would be
crosswalk in
interesting.
town.
Yeah, oh boy.
But once you get one, people kind of get used to it.
Yeah.
And so when we put another one at Creekside and one at, one on East Black Butte and Locust, I think that all of a sudden it'll get in people's minds a little bit, so.
Yeah, and I asked ODOT during their outreach session about the roundabout, why we didn't get a crosswalk, and they told me that our town was too small. Like, 1 lane roundabouts don't get flashing signals, which.
That's been
Was
the
unfortunate.
policy
Yeah.
so far, and I think they're
It's
starting to,
unfortunate.
it is unfortunate, and I think. they're-
Well, we change it till they have 3 or 4 deaths, and then
Well,
we'll
it's
think
like
about it.
From Bend and you're going from 55 to 45, and before you get to the crosswalk at the park, you're supposed to be at 20, but no one's at 20 miles per hour before
No.
that first crosswalk.
I do.
Locals, mostly, yeah, locals, but most people on the highway.
People are not. Every year I get a mile-an-hour still.
I yell at people on Barclay,
And I'm like, just.
I yell at people on Barclay because they're going like 60 down Barclay, and they're supposed to be going 30.
I stood at Barclay and Pine, I was looking at that crossing, just last week.
That's the too.
And a lot of variability in terms of the speeds.
Yeah.
Some people at 35, most at 45, a few higher than that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's cops there a lot. I'd go 35.
Yeah. Well, the cop
Exactly,
station, the
third.
sheriff's station is right there on Barclay,
Yeah.
but you need some kind of a speed camera or something to do to shut down.
Yeah. I think what I wanna get back to is, so you have these functional classifications, you say, hey, these are your collectors, these are your arterials, your local streets and whatnot. And when we get applications, we're looking at that hierarchy to figure out, okay, where can we put driveways on new development? how do we protect our arterial system for through mobility and use our collectors to help offload those arterials, right? But the city's public works standards and specifications play a key role too, because these say, okay, if it's a red line, it should be one of these standards. If it's a blue line, it should be one of these standards. So it determines how much right of way, whether or not there's on-street parking, if it's parallel, angled, no parking at all, bike lanes. So the public works standards works with the transportation system plan's functional classification map, which also then works with the city's access spacing standards to figure out, okay, how far apart do driveways and streets need to be. So that's the way it worked kind of at a high level, right? So we're looking at this kind of stuff with every development application with our plans. On the other side of this is safety, and you guys are already aware of it, but safety in Sisters is really good. You know, if I was going to give you a rating like Jackson did, A+. There hasn't, I'll get to the next slide too. There hasn't been any fatalities in Sisters that I see reported in the last 5 years and the 5 years before that. So the last 10 years, I haven't seen a single reported fatality. Doesn't mean none's happened. It just means none have made it into the crash database. None are reported, right? That's really unusual, really unusual.
Are you talking about car to car or car to pedestrian?
So it's at least one motor vehicle. So it could be car to bike, car to pedestrian, car to car. It could be 3 cars, 4 cars.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this is, I believe this is the 2013 to 2018 crash data points that were on from the TSP update, just so you can kind of see the spread. And the key things to remember as commissioners is 60+% of all crashes in Sisters are happening on Cascade. Again, a reason for the alternate route. You take the traffic off, take the congestion away, and hopefully we can make the road a little bit safer. There are no ODOT safety priority system locations in Sisters. So we haven't made their top 85, 90, or 100% projects in the state, meaning our safety is good, right? It also means we're not quite as eligible for different safety funds, but we still do our best to try and get some of those. Looking at the schools, I only saw 1 crash along your school frontage. It was on 242 and it involved deer. So again, pretty good school zone safety, pretty good safety around the schools. And I think with the enhancements to the McKinney corridor, it's going to be even better.
What's the color code?
Yeah.
In red.
The red were injury crashes, the green were property damage only. And again, no fatalities, so you're not going to see anything else. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. And then here's another graphic of the crashes themselves, and it's super hard to see, but the top one is showing the 2019 to 2023 data by crash type. And so that's showing you, okay, of the crashes that have occurred in Sisters, what classification? Angle, turning, pedestrian,
Rear end.
what? And of course it's rear end. It's on Cascade. Almost all the crashes are rear end, whether you stop for a pedestrian or you're stopping to make a left turn. It's the
Or
guy
you're
behind
looking,
you.
you're looking the
Yeah.
wrong way and they
Yeah.
don't pay attention.
It's the guy behind you that doesn't see and hits you. And so that's why there's a number of crashes on Cascade. They're not all high severity. Most of them are pretty low severity. But there's a good number because there is so much activity. There are so many conflicts coming out from all angles.
Is that just Cascade or is that?
No, this is citywide. I pulled everything labeled City of Sisters from the Deschutes County crashes.
I'd like to point out there's only 2 pedestrians in that time frame, which to me is pretty amazing considering how many pedestrians we actually get.
Oh, yeah.
And 3 cyclists. And the cyclists show up in the angle and there's 2 that were turning. Every single one of those cyclists and every single one of those pedestrians were on Cascade Ave. I think there was 2 on Oak. There was 1 on, I think it was 1 at Jefferson. It was a bicycle. Someone, I think, was turning right across a through cyclist. I want to say there was 1 at Hood. And there was 1 more, oh, I think it was at Pine. So everything on Cascade, all your pet bike crashes, the majority of your crashes have consistently been there.
When I cross with my bike, I usually push it in front of me. So
Good idea.
anything's getting hit, it's gonna be the bike and not me.
And you can see that, so the bottom graph, and it's hard to see these numbers, but bottom left is 2014 going over to 2023. These are your total crashes per year. It's been pretty consistent, about 25 to 30 crashes per year. And if you think about that, from 2014 to 2023, you've seen a pretty good increase in the number of people, the population of Sisters. So maintaining that rate, not seeing this increase is a good sign. when we did the 2022 update, we tried to look at some of the priority safety locations. And, you know, one of the things that came out is, you know, we really need a roundabout at Locust. Well, hey, we have it now. There was also some improvements on Main to make those all-way stops because of sight lines around parked cars. We've got that in place. There was the 20 is Plenty campaign. I think Paul and Jackson went out and replaced hundreds and hundreds of posted 25-mile-an-hour signs and got that done. And various crossings and other.
We did a
improvements too.
four-way stop on Hood too, right? Hood and Pine.
Reconfigure the intersection.
Yeah.
No, I'd love.
Now it's
that four-way. Four-way stop.
Yeah, that's very,
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, cause that was sketchy before.
Yeah.
Did that get put in place?
Yeah.
Yeah, couldn't find her. It's
I must have missed
four-way
that. Yeah, I know we talked about it. Okay.
Even though the crash data didn't really support it,
People
it
wanted
was still,
it.
it
Yeah.
was still like always near misses, you know, lots of near misses.
Right, you gotta like hurry to get through.
Lowers your stress level.
Right. Had that east-west misalignment too, from the 3-lane to the 2-lane
They
section.
straightened that out too.
Yeah,
And then with the cars all parked, it's hard to see if you wanna cross,
right.
so.
Well, the bike shop was so square. It blocked
it's easy to
it.
cross now because both of the Hood Street is blocked off because of the.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to stop.
So the exact probably measure we put in place.
Yeah. Just dig a big old ditch through here on things.
Yeah, with all the projects you guys are getting done, it might be time to make a new list. But I think what you'll see is really it's gonna be enhanced that alternate route. That's gonna be the main thing, getting the crossings on Locust. What I thought was really interesting too, because we had talked about, you know, planning for this 4,700 person. So I went and pulled the latest data. And this is Google population, right? So it's not PSU, it's not perfect. But what I was surprised by is since the 2020 reporting, population in Sisters on Google has been pretty flat. You know, it went up a little bit, came back down. So I guess the question is, are we still going to get to those 4,700 numbers by 2040? Or
Those numbers are wrong.
Yes, use.
PSU's numbers are on?
Use numbers are higher.
Which one's used?
Yeah, we're at 30, according to the city, we're at 3,800 now.
3,800?
Be like 7,100 to 2040.
It's a sign.
7,120.
And that also
The
included,
sign is 3,200.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that also,
Was right.
that also
Just
included
carry.
Portland State changed their average number per household, which actually brought the population down a couple years ago, and got on the news and stuff, because they went from like a 2.4 to a 2.1 per household.
Got it.
And it made us drop a little bit, but the reality is we didn't really drop, we flattened out quite a bit, obviously, but
So
it's
it's,
probably around 3,800.
so it is still trajectory up, it's just not as steep as.
Yeah, I would say that that's fair.
And the other thing you would need to add with that is the zip code growth, because that all impacts the traffic
I wish I had that.
Just-
By
just-
census block, yeah,
just as much
Right.
as
absolutely.
residents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Where have you seen the most growth? Where do you think? I mean, is it Northwest or is it?
Well, I don't know, you have so many areas, developed areas outside the city limits.
Northeast.
You know, Sage Meadow on
Yeah, I
one
think
side and
Northeast.
Crossroads and
Yeah.
Tollgate and.
Within a quarter mile.
Nobody's moving across.
Within a
It's the
quarter
same.
mile of Landmark, there's been close to 2,000 apartment units built in the last 10 years.
Yeah. And you have the Woodlands development, which is.
Still growing,
Yeah, pardon,
still going.
still going, and then you got the development off 242 there.
Right.
So
Right.
when those fill up, that curve's gonna keep
But
going.
what's interesting about Sisters though is let's say the population is completely static, right? But what's interesting is with the highway running through Sisters, it doesn't mean your transportation needs are static, right?
No,
I mean, if Bend and Redmond are growing, you're still gonna see the increased traffic. So I also pulled the highway, the permanent count station volumes. And again, what was interesting about this, you know, this is your COVID crash right down here. But 11,310 prior to COVID in 2019, 11,412, volumes on the highway have not changed at all pre-COVID to now. It's been flat, which is really surprising to me because it feels like it's busier, right? But this is just their loops. One is by the viewpoint between Sisters and Bend. The other is over by Black Butte Ranch. And it just loops in the pavement that count the cars that go across.
I wonder if we did it by day of the week. how that
yeah,
works.
Friday afternoons,
Yeah, cause it's.
Friday and
Friday and Sunday are the days.
Yeah, they have it by that too, so you can actually drill into that kind of information and.
Friday afternoon coming into town, it's backed up almost all the way to Tollgate sometimes.
Well, it was interesting too, because even looking at the overall crashes, and I pulled these by day a week too, and there's definitely a spike on Fridays. You know, with more people that are unfamiliar with the system, more traffic going through the city.
Right.
Yeah, I should.
Especially during happy hour, if you know.
Right.
Very well.
You know, and it's funny, it crashes really 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then they just drop off precipitously.
Well, yeah, nobody drives after 8 pretty much. It's like a ghost town.
Yeah.
Where to go.
No.
Didn't close the door.
Again, because our highways are our main thing, we have to do a lot of coordination with ODOT. ODOT controls not just the speeds on highway, but speeds everywhere. This was a slide from the transportation system plan update, kind of talking about how we wanted these speed transitions to occur. I believe Paul and Jackson's group and, you know, got a lot of these in place. ODOT's very particular about speeds on highways. They're not quite as particular about transitions. So sometimes we can move those transition points even though we can't change the speed of a road. Cool. And so we played that game as best we could, trying to get people's speeds down before they hit the urban area, before they start going past the houses.
Big sign, cute little town ahead, slow
Yeah,
down.
exactly.
It's really interesting when I'm coming in on 20 and you go to 45 miles an hour and then you go to 35. Some people pay attention to that, and some are going like 60 all the way till almost to the roundabout.
Roundabout, you have to go the speed, and that's the nice thing about it. I mean, and now with it on Locust as well, you can't just keep doing 45 miles an hour through Locust.
Yeah.
So the people that complain about the roundabout being so slow that's a great thing because it was supposed to be a speed mitigation device.
Yeah.
And also just making left-hand turns anywhere out of there was hard, right?
Oh, yeah,
So-
God, trying to turn on the highway from Locust, that
Yeah,
was.
when people complain to me about the speed of the roundabout and how it's, you know, so slow to get through there, I said, good, that means it's working.
Exactly.
Because we haven't had a fatality. That's a good,
And that takes away T-bones and you get those angle crashes, so safety wise,
Yeah.
roundabouts are.
there hasn't been hardly any crashes in the roundabouts. It's so
And
few.
they're minor when they are, so it's,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that the places on this graphic are kind of where we were looking at those speed treatments. So basically coming into town from the perimeter, from the highways and from Three Creeks Road and come down Camp Polk Road.
I'm hoping we can get ODOT to go down to 20 between both roundabouts all the way. And I think that place in front of the Woodlands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's the next place to try and push that transition zone outside the city past the first roundabout. I think that would be helpful.
I think we can get there, but it's gonna take that development going all the way through.
Sure.
That's been the challenge.
You gotta get the crosswalk in place first.
Two parks, one on each.
Exactly.
side.
And
That also-
parks are a basis for reducing the speeds, you know, that's one of the criteria that ODOT looks at.
What about,
His 10%, 25 on his two parts.
what about pedestrian, like, I'm a dad and my kid's gonna be a teenager soon, and we live on the east side and the schools are on the west side, so
Right.
I'd love to have him bike to school, but I don't really want him biking over a roundabout ever, right? So he's probably not gonna bike to school. Is there anything to be done about that, or is that just life in Sisters?
It'd be nice to do, Sisters is a small little town. It'd be nice to make it really pedestrian friendly. I should be able to go any place in town on my bicycle or on foot.
But I don't feel comfortable saying.
Well, no, I don't. feel
Right now.
Right, I don't. feel comfortable.
No, you're-
When Gavin was in elementary school, we lived over on the west side.
Yeah.
I had him, when the school was over on the
Right.
east, I showed him the route along Washington.
Where did you
And
cross?
We just crossed
At the dismount and walk.
dismount and walk
Yeah.
across and
Yeah.
basically I just taught him like, look, you're little, you're gonna have to like
Yeah.
make yourself known. I mean, I get it. I was nervous, but it's a
Yeah.
lesson they gotta learn.
Yeah, going into the roundabout, if you're gonna go up 242, like in, right, McKenzie Pass or something, you really have, you looking way ahead and trying to time it.
What is gonna be the funnel for pedestrians, especially kids moving from east to west? Is it the roundabout, or is it that new one that you're talking about in the Woodlands?
You know, I don't know, Scott, if you've looked much at that either, but.
It's that was flashing light.
Well, I hate roundabouts, trying to cross a roundabout.
Yeah,
It's really scary.
people aren't looking.
Well, people are having a hard time with the roundabout anyway, and you throw a pedestrian in the mix and it really screws things up.
Set the new one several times without issue.
I'd really like to,
People are already slowing down because they're confused and then they know, okay, I stopped at best.
I'd really like to, me, as, you know, being on council, the safe route to school program is excellent. And if we could get a safe route to school that actually crosses the highway.
Yeah, that's on.
That would be great. And the Woodlands may be the opportunity to be able to do that. I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Yeah.
It's a little early in the process, obviously.
Like us, like they do that.
It's such a nice
Yeah,
road.
they-
We've had
like,
sidewalks
you
that
start
are-
up, but they get like 20 or 20.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I ride Barkley all the time on that.
Yeah, I can find it.
It's wide enough,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah.
But,
It's gonna be better, don't worry.
Walking Barkley sucks though.
yeah, walking Barkley is not fun.
Just do a little time check here. You
Oh,
guys
yeah.
okay with going a little longer, maybe the 5:15?
Yeah, like 2 more slides, it's.
You have to leave? Okay. Yeah, take off if you need to.
Since it's 5:09, just so you know, for winners, 5:09.
Just to wrap this
9
up,
minutes.
yeah, so for private development, when they come in and they have a development. What requires a traffic study is more than 200 weekday daily trips, and so these are some of the equivalents, so more than 22 single-family homes, 33 apartments, 25,000 square feet or more of office. Some retail or a restaurant, anything bigger than those levels requires a traffic study, so they actually have to do counts and actually look at operations. Your code does also allow or allow staff to require traffic calming. So if there's a big project on a neighborhood that's impacting local streets, we can also ask for those types of mitigation measures. And then, of course, every development at Sisters contributes towards system development charges. Those fees are incredibly low in Sisters. Your fees are, I think, $2,500 per PM trip. Bend and Redmond right now are at 11,000. I think Pine Hill's at 5,000 or 6,000. So you guys are probably way under assessing what your fee should be.
We should kick that up.
It's coming up, don't worry. We were already aware at council that we're very, very low, so. I mean, we're not trying to bust people, I mean, that's not it, but you have to keep up with the cost. And if we're not charging enough on SDCs, we won't have the money in the future when we really need it, so.
Yeah.
It's an investment, SDCs are an investment.
Well, they pay for parks, they pay for trails, they pay for
Well,
level.
transportation pays for future roads and safety improvements, right? So that's what we do.
It does.
Growth pays for growth.
That's right.
So this is your TSP classification map, but I put some highlighted kink, which is really the pinch points that I'm seeing right now in Sisters. These are the most congested intersections. If you look at Barclay and Cascade, Highway 20, that really needs to be a multi-lane roundabout during certain times of the summer. We know that, but we don't want to do that. As soon as you go to a multi-lane roundabout, people can cut through the lanes, the speeds increase, you lose a lot of the safety, you get more sideswipe crashes. So the challenge is, how long can you run this as a single lane roundabout before you have to start adding right turn lanes or doing other limited improvements? You know, same with Locust. We know at some point it's going to need to be a multi-lane, but we want to keep that small as well. So just thinking about the city and in terms of where you want to grow, you know, how do we leverage these pinch points to figure out where the best place for growth would be? Now, of course, transportation is one aspect. You've got other things to consider, other utilities. You've got zoning considerations of where to place more people. You've got riparian, natural areas, Whitejuice Creek, bridges, what have you. But, you know, thinking about your transportation system and looking at this map to figure out, okay, if I'm going to add 1,000 more people or whatever, what red road do I need to draw on this? Where does it have to go? And how does it connect in? How does it affect Highway 20? That's really the question to be asking as a commission member.
I can show you.
I bet you could.
That's great. Thank you so much. Really good.
Thanks.
Good session.
Good.
You guys have any questions? Shoot me.
This
Thank you,
is,
Jackson.
this is small.
Very, very.
Yeah.
Very helpful. This is really good. We need to do this quarterly minimum.
Okay.
No, this type of thing.
We got it busy.
I think we run out of things to talk about if we did this quarterly.
All these planning things. So busy lately.
Just so you
No, we
know,
haven't done anything.
if transportation goes wrong, we just blame crappy engineers. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Sorry, right?
Well, and that's why we contract out, because it's easier, it's right, blame them.
You're fired.
Those contractors.
Okay, staff comments, staff and
All
commissioner
right.
comments.
It's not
Real quick here, but with some updates. We did make a hire for our associate planner position.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and we can announce that it's her name's Sarah Val. She coming from the city of Redmond. She was an associate planner over there, and so we're really excited about that. She's got a lot of experience, and Matt and Carol and I are not gonna have to spend as much time training her.
Does she live in Redmond or here?
I think she does live in Redmond, so yeah. So she starts October 27th. And so we'll start to see, you know, sort of over time.
Did you work with her back in the day?
Yeah, yeah. She's a great gal, and good planner and we're excited to have her, so. Should be a fairly seamless transition.
But I hope you bring opponents to the first meeting or whatever.
Already like that.
And you think we're a police department.
Council Creed kind of gave you an update on the UGB, in terms of where that's going. If you have any questions on that, let me. Probably not now, but go ahead and ask me later. Like you said, it's they're getting to a point where they're gonna make a decision, most likely on the November 5th meeting, with the workshop here coming on the 22nd. We're trying to lay out the different implications for different paths that they could go down, what those implications are in terms of time. So we will have a packet posted here, probably Friday on the council packet with some information. If you're curious, go on the city website and you can get access to that. Code amendments, we're still processing, working towards bringing code amendments forward. I mentioned we got a grant through the state for some engineering work for the future UGB. So we can start identifying what those needs are, transportation wise, utility wise, and how much they're gonna cost, and ultimately how much is that gonna be on private development, how much is it gonna be city funded as relates to the costs of our SDC fees. And then so we're still, the other grant that we put in for was to get a consultant to do a code audit for code to see how compliant or out of compliant the state law is, because the state's continually updating laws that apply to housing, and it's hard to keep up with that because how long it takes to get code on this done. But we're gonna basically figure out where we're deficient. And then they're gonna also come up with model kind of code language that we can take through and make sure our code comes into compliance, and we can take a look at like design standards. We've one of council's goals to look at how we can bring in some more differentiation in master plan communities so that not all the houses are looking the same. What can we do? And it has to be clear and objective, right?
Right.
You can't just make whatever Scott or Matt thinks is good. It's gotta be clear, it's gotta be clear understanding. So
Yeah, council doesn't care what Scott and how, no.
I'll change it anyway. No. So that's gonna be a big work item coming down the pipe for planning commission. We won't start that until January. The contract's don't start that with that, but that's an example of something that you guys will be involved with. Matt has been working really hard and has some accomplishments with, you may have heard with the defensible space that you followed up with that. But Matt, do you want to address the other component of what we're working on, the building hardening?
Continued efforts to meet the council's goal on making the community more wildfire resilient and mitigate those impacts. So along with the building, with the defensible space, moving forward with adoption of Oregon Residential Specialty Code R327. That's commonly building hardening, a higher standard of materials and construction techniques for new dwellings and their associated accessory structures to make them more resilient in the event of a wildfire. So the vegetation management with the defensible space and then making the structures more hardy will create a more resilient.
Remodels of existing structures, are they gonna be thrown into that or not?
This is limited, so with adoption of a building code standard, and in this particular case, you need to adopt all of it. So we can't say how it's applied, and so with revisions they made recently, it's applicable only to new dwellings. Will that change? How building codes are constructed evolve over time, so we could see it applied to additions, but as it's written now, it would be only new construction.
And just single family duplex, correct?
And triplex. So once you get into multifamily, that's a commercial code, different set of standards for those structures.
We're not ignoring it, but you can only do steps at a time, right?
Yeah.
But the flat fire did remind us, I mean, just as a healthy reminder that some of the things that we've already done were helpful. Some things weren't enough, and you know, anybody who's on council, if they're not thinking about fire at all times, then they're probably in the wrong place.
So adoption of the R 327 would be a change to the municipal code, so not something that'll come before you, because that's not, you handle development code changes, but in this case, it'll go straight to city council for review and adoption. But so we're addressing the new built environment, looking at other strategies to look at existing development or additions to or alterations to existing sites. If not through regulation, looking at educational or other incentive programs.
I think when we do change codes like that, where we're piecemealing stuff and we're writing it ourselves, obviously you guys will be part of the process. That brings me to a little bit back to the UGB stuff. I don't ever want you guys to think that we're ignoring. We asked for you guys to be involved and give us a recommendation. But the city council is the final stop, and sometimes we just have to look in the rear view mirror just a bit, just to make sure we're not missing something. But the final decision is on our plate. It's our elected official part of our responsibility. It's also part of our scrutiny that we get. We understand that. And most people who are elected understand that too. Doesn't mean we're not appreciative of what you've done. It may be exactly what you suggested. It may be a hybrid of some type. You just don't know. I don't even know. I'm just one of 5 people, right? So we're gonna go through this process, and whatever's the final decision will be the final decision, you know what I mean? So it's very rare for stuff to come through our citizen boards and just rubber stamp it every time.
Yeah.
I'd say about half the time we do, but there are other times when we want to refine it. I don't know if you remember when we were talking about density. Planning Commission recommended 4-story buildings, and there was 3 people on council were like, oh, hell no. Yeah, no offense, but we just weren't ready to get there. And you know, maybe if density's looked at again 10 or 20 years down the road, that may change. Who knows? But there were some people that just couldn't swallow that. I was definitely one of those. So.
And there was some short-term rental changes too, I remember.
Yeah, I've had to recuse myself from that because I'm a licensed owner of that, so I'm not ever in that discussion. Although I only keep it to, so there's nobody around me actually using one. I'm a blocker. I use it once a year just to keep a license. And I'm very upfront about that, but that's what I did years ago. So anyway, thank you all for your work. It's much appreciated, and you know, you guys are appointed there because you're interested and you're passionate about it, and that's a good thing. We never ignore. I can tell you that right now. So
Cool.
Go Mariners.
All right.
Yeah. Any commissioner
I guess-
updates?
Pardon?
I guess that has staff updates. I didn't know.
All right, so I guess
Yeah,
we're
true for-
adjourned.
No commissioner updates.
Not for me.
I guess they chime in if they would. All right, November 5th, I think, is the next scheduled, or the 6th. Is the next possible meeting. I'll let you know. We don't really have a whole lot of agenda items on right now. So maybe if we think of some other educational things to do, we could do that again. That time.
Yeah, it was very good.
Good.
This is really worth.
Joe's good.
What else would you like to learn?
I was teasing him earlier.
I'm not offended by anyone, don't worry.
He's hard into all this, right?
I can agree with a lot of stuff. I've heard it all.
Right.
You've heard all the engineers,
Okay.
right?
It's official.
Uh,
Why?